Welcome to another episode of Coach Hayes Football. Today we're going to finish up our two-part video on how to get our defense to play fast. This is Volume 2, Wide Receiver Alignments. And if you're interested in learning how to get your defense to play fast based on how the offense lines up, then stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. This is How to Get Your Defense to Play Fast, Volume 2, Wide Receiver Alignments. We're going to jump straight into it because we don't have a lot of time and I have a lot of things to cover. First thing I do want to talk about is what we call the divider line. On the divider line, and you'll see this, and we're going to go to the board here in a second, and I have a couple of rules about that. But the divider line simply helps us determine our leverage. If a player lines up inside that line or outside that line determines what kind of leverage we're going to play with. Okay, so here we are. Divider line rules, okay? We typically line, that red line that you see kind of over my head right here is on a practice field. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars practice field, to be honest with you. And I'm going to put in the description below the link to that article, and it goes in full detail about the divider line, how they use it, why they use it, and everything about it, okay? But I use it for that same purpose, but also for a couple different reasons, all right? How we mark our field and where that divider line is on our field is 3 yards on top of the numbers, okay? So wherever the top of your numbers are on your practice field, 3 yards on top of that is where we actually mark our divider line, okay? When we mark that divider line, we teach the players two simple rules. It's very simple. Number one is if the wide receiver is on or outside of that divider line, that red line, then we're going to line up inside leverage of that wide receiver. Now, does that mean I have to be inside the red line? No. It's telling us to line up inside leverage of that particular player. If the wide receiver lines up inside the divider line, that red line again, the corner, we're going to line up outside leverage. Again, that doesn't mean you have to be outside the red line. We're going to line up outside leverage of that player. All right? So when we go further into this film, you're going to see some red lines on the diagram. That is the divider line, and we're going to talk about that in concepts and everything else here in a second. All right? Now, let's go straight into it. Okay? Let's look at some examples for the divider line. All right? On the divider line, you see here at the top. Let me put my pointer on. Okay? So here at the very top here, you see this wide receiver is lined up where? Inside leverage. Right? Inside of this red line. So he's inside of this red line. We're going to take our cornerback and line him outside leverage of this wide receiver. All right? Hope that makes sense. He doesn't have to be outside of this red line. He is simply outside leverage of this wide receiver. Okay? Let's look to the other side. He is outside of the red line. Therefore, we're going to line up inside leverage. All right? So we're lining up inside leverage here of the divider line. Okay, look at example number 2 here below the dark black line. Here, this receiver now is lined up where? Outside of the red divider line. Therefore, we're going to take our cornerback and line him up inside leverage of the receiver. He does not have to be inside of this red line. He has to be inside leverage of this wide receiver. All right. How far inside? Again, that's based upon your game plan. That's based upon the coverage that you're playing and other variables. Okay. Look on the other side here. He's lined up inside of the red divider line. Therefore, we're going to line up outside. Now, why is this important? This is important for two simple facts. All right. Two simple reasons. One, when receivers line up a particular way, they're lining up to, I always say it, they're trying to buy real estate or they're trying to buy grass, right? So if I look at this right now, we want to talk about this. Let me get to my pen. All right. If he's lining up inside leverage here, all right, we back at the top diagram. We at this diagram right here. If he lines up inside, he has this much space to work in. Okay. Let's look at the diagram below that. If he lines up outside, then he's bought this much space to work in. So that is why we try and take something away from a leverage standpoint. All right. Hope we all have a simple understanding. Same thing here. Look at this. We can't even the short side of the field. If he lines up outside of this red line, what we're going to do is take away the inside. Why? There's not much space here for him to run anything else. The sideline becomes your friend. There's not much space for him to do anything else. So what does he have to do? He has to work his way inside, whether it be a slant, a drag. I mean, there are numerous routes. But again, we're playing the odds. We want to take something away. If he's lining up here, inside of the red line, look how much space he has bought himself. Even though it's the short side of the field, he can run a quick out, right? He can run a spot. He can run a sail route. He has more space. So again, we're trying to take away the space in which he's trying to purchase. Let's go here. Again, these are the 6 wide receiver pre-snap alignments. And yes, these are all about conflict routes, conflict concepts. We're always cautious of 4 verticals. We're always going to be cautious of hitches. We're always going to be cautious of slants. Yes, but we're talking about concepts right here. How can we anticipate certain concepts based on how they line up on the football field? The very first 2 we're going to talk about, and the reason I said 2 is because what I'm going to do in the next slide, you'll see I'm going to split the field in half and kind of work both sides just for time constraints. All right? So the very first one we're going to talk about is wide. If the wide receivers line up wide, and I'll explain that in a second, we're going to anticipate the concept to be curl flat. Our alert to that is curly. That's part of communication in the word casket. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we did a video, our very first video, we talked about put them in the casket. And that's simply an acronym standing for our kind of philosophy when we come out. All right. So our players are going to alert curly, 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 curly. That just lets everyone know that we're anticipating a curl flat concept based on the alignment that they gave us. All right. In the second one, I'm going to change the pen color here because I don't want to mix them up. We're talking about wide if the slot is on the ball. So it's the same look as the very first one. The difference is the number 1 is off the ball. The number 2 is now on the ball. Okay, so OTB stands for on the ball. So the slot is on the ball. We're anticipating a smash concept. And we'll talk about smash concept here when we go to the next clip. What our alert is, very simple. Smash, smash, smash. We're not trying to make, like I said, we're not splitting atoms, and it's not rocket science. We're going to give what they give us. All right, we're going to take what they give us, rather. All right, let's go to the next slide here. Okay, so we talked about wide. When the wide receivers line up in a wide alignment, we're trying to anticipate what they're going to do. And so what we're saying is they're going to be in the curl flat concept. So we're going to alert our team curly, curly, curly. And again, curl flat concepts, what they're made to do or what they were designed to do was to put conflict onto that curl flat defender. All right, and that may be your Sam, maybe your nickelback, a down safety. However you have your defense set up, that's who is designed to put conflict on. So in the curl flat concept, again, what they want to do is attack these 2 areas, the curl and the flat. Okay, that curl flat defender has to work his way, and I'm just going to use a Sam for right now. It could be a safety, nickelback, like I said. All right, he's going to start off here into the curl area and work his way to the flat. So if he decides to take on to the flat area, they're going to throw it into the curl area. If he decides to sit, then they will throw it to the flat area. Again, that's what it's all about. So that's what the curl flat concept is. We don't try to teach a lot of routes, but we try to teach more concepts because there's 101 ways you can get to those 2 areas. All right. You can get there by, running a bubble. Let me erase this so it's a little clear. You can get there by, like I say, running a bubble and running a curl behind it. You can get there by running it out with a curl. However you choose to get there, you're still trying to attack those 2 zones. All right. Clear this. Over here on the other side, we're talking about the wide OTB on the ball, right? What does that mean? That means that the number 2 receiver is on the line of scrimmage. All right. By him being on the line of scrimmage, that changes it typically from being a curl flat concept to a smash concept. What is a smash concept? Smash concepts put the corner in conflict. All right. So when they put the corner in conflict, they're trying to attack the flat and they're trying to attack the deep. All right, that typically puts your corner into conflict. If your corner decides to fire up, they will hit the deep area. If your corner decides to fire back, then they will hit the flat area. Okay? So, again, it could be the corner, it could be a linebacker, whatever. We're not getting into necessarily defensive strategies, but we're getting more into the concepts of what offenses like to run against the defense. All right? So, again, that's the wide OTB. And again, OTB stands for on the ball, meaning that the slot receiver is on the ball of scrimmage. All right. Now we have snag. Okay. So now we have the snag concept. Okay. Snag is basically a combination of curl flat and smash together. So what all they've simply done in the snag concept, and it's a three-man route or a three-receiver concept. It could be three wide receivers. It could be a running back, fullback, however. But they're trying to attack three zones and create a triangle out of it. And so what they're trying to attack is a deep, a flat, and a curl area. Okay? So it puts two people in conflict. It may say, okay, I want to put your curl flat defender in conflict, as well as your deep defender in conflict. So if that corner happens to fire forward, okay, and your Sam happens to stay here, well, they may decide to hit the deep route. If your corner decides to play deep, your curl flat defender decides to stay into the curl, then they may go ahead and hit the flat. All right? And if your curl flat defender decides to fire out to the flat, he decides to take the deep. Sorry about that. He decides to take the deep, then they'll throw it into the curl area. Okay? So these are all ways to put defenses into conflict. And so, again, how you defeat that is having some knowledge and having some awareness of what could potentially hurt you. All right, so here on the next concept is our slot. We talk about this slot. All right, and you see -5 OTB. What does that mean? -5 to OT means that slot receiver is -5 yards or less than to the offensive tackle, and he is on the line of scrimmage. He's on the ball. All right. When that happens, we're thinking cross route. We're thinking cross or mesh route. All right. Drag or over. Okay. We're also thinking it's a run formation. All right. And we're also thinking he can run an out. I talked about earlier about buying real estate. If he's that tight and he's going to run the ball, he's going to either what? Run out. Okay. Because he has that much more real estate. Our alert to that is slam, slam, slam. All right, defense is alerting slam, slam, slam. Everybody knows those three potential things could happen because of the way in which he lined up. And again, there's no defeat technique because we're not talking about a specific defense right now. We're only talking about offensive concepts. All right. The next one is close. All right. Close means two receivers that are in proximity. They're in close proximity, usually within 5 yards of each other. All right. What happens in that is the concept of switching. All right. They're going to switch. They can switch routes. So, for example, you may get a slant with a wheel route. You may get a scissor route deeper. However that goes, we'll talk about that here in a second. And our alert is switch, switch, switch. We don't have to come up with special code words. Let's call it what it is. All right. No sense to keep coming up with a bunch of different terminology. That means your players have to learn more things. All right. Let's just call it what it is. And then again, defense technique, we're not talking about today. We're going to first talk about the slot on the ball. All right. As you see, the slot receiver is on the line of scrimmage. He's here. He's on the line of scrimmage. And what he's doing is one of those three things. We talked about it. The first one I'm going to talk about is the cross, drag, mesh, all of one and the same, especially from a defensive standpoint. We don't get into, a bunch of terminology and, this route and that name. A cross is a cross is a cross. Whether it's an over, a drag, mesh route, whatever, he's doing that motion. That's what we're going to talk about. So in there, what he's trying to do is get across the formation. When he's trying to get across this formation, all right, the reason he has to be so close is because he has to clear this area because it's a lot of traffic. the ball usually comes out once he clears that into this area. All right, that's the cross. They're going to alert. When they hear that slam, 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 that's alerting the defender to the other side, might be a wheel backer, another outside linebacker, that be alert that this is coming across to you. Watch out for that route. All right. Next is run. Okay, so now it puts him in position. So now he can maybe down block onto this Mike backer. All right. Or if the Sam happens to line up inside, this usually is a perimeter run because he's so tight. The tighter he is, the further they're trying to get outside and pin you inside. All right. So that's the run. Next, and we talk about the out. Why does it? Look how much real estate he's bought. Look how far he is. Look how much work. Look how much he has to do. He can either do a China route where he can come in here and whip back outside. He can run just a straight out, whatever that may be. But again, those are the three things that we're looking at. So again, when they line up like this in a slot OTB, we're thinking, and -5 with offensive tackle, we're thinking crossing route, run, or an out. Okay, let's look to the other side. Close. All right, so let's talk about close. All right, we're thinking automatically when they're this close, we're thinking switch route. Look how close these guys are. They're within 5 yards proximity. They're really close. They can almost reach out and touch each other. So we're thinking some type of switch route. What switch routes in particular? I mean, you can have, again, there's numerous kinds. But what your most typical is the slant with the wheel route, or slant with the up, however you want to term it, okay? You also can run maybe a deep scissor route, okay? So when they're close like that, we're automatically thinking a switch route. All right, and the next slide is we're going to talk about far, all right? What is far? Far is just simply the offensive formation is spread out very far, and that's typically to run the ball, all right? So what we're thinking now is run game. Can they still pass the ball? Of course they can. If you're a pass first defender, then guess what? You must play the pass first. But we want to alert everybody, hey, they're in a far, 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 alert the run game. We're thinking what? Backfield alerts now. Start checking into your backfield alerts. That was in volume 1 of the second part of this video is play fast defense. So if you happen to miss that, simply go back and click on that and you can understand what those backfield alerts may be. Again, far. Look how far they are. All right. Both of them are outside of the divider line. All right. So what are they trying to do? Let's just draw up something very simple. Let's just say, for example, you have a corner here. You have a corner here. All right. You have, just say, an outside defender. Let's say a safety. And let's just say another safety nickel back. And you also have your one high deep defender. Well, how many people do we have now really outside of the box? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. That only leaves 6 people in the box. Well, from an offensive standpoint, that's an advantage. Why? Because they already have 5 people here on the line of scrimmage. All right, that's the offensive line. The running back makes 6, and if they happen to have a running quarterback, that makes 7. So from a number standpoint, you're at a disadvantage, all right? They got 7 against your 6. That should put the offense in an advantage, and that's not what we typically want to have. Again, this is what we talk about. We want to make sure that you can get great pre-snap reads, put your defense in an advantageous situation by simply knowing what an offense can do to you by the way they line up. All right. Volume 1 talked about backfield reads and how that can help you. Volume 2, which is this segment, talks about how the offensive line, the receivers line up can help you maybe in the passing game with certain concepts based on how they line up based on their spacing. Again, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Remember, if you like something that you heard, if you have a suggestion or something, a topic you want to talk about, please put it in the comment below. Also, remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so it can remind you every time we upload a new video. And again, thank you very much. Meet you at the 50-yard line.